Hello and welcome to today's webinar. I hope you all had a great Thanksgiving. It's been a few weeks since we have talked last and gone through a webinar. So I'm excited to go through a new one today and talk about how we can get on track for retirement if we're starting a little bit behind. And so we'll go through some different strategies that you can look at. But to answer the question, can I still retire if I didn't start saving until later in life? Yes, you still can, and we'll talk about what that looks like. So let me share my screen here and we'll get started into today's presentation. All right, so starting late and getting started into retirement. Why do court reporters start saving late? This is something I see all the time. And there's a few different reasons that I've noticed. Number one is you're in your business building years. You're focused on getting up to speed on your court reporting. You're just starting to bring in income. And then usually what I see is it's paired with this bottom right box where we have a family and then you have kids and you're paying for them, college expenses, right? The list never ends, even if they're out of the house sometimes as well. So we got a lot of expenses there. Also, there's no auto enrollment. One of the best parts about a 401k is the forced savings that happens when you sign up. You make the decision one time to sign up for that retirement plan, and then it takes out, say, 5% of your income toward retirement every single paycheck for the rest of your career, and you don't have to do anything about it. And then you also get a match from the company as well. Those two factors really help boost retirement plans for most Americans to be able to have this guaranteed savings every paycheck and be getting a match. That's basically sometimes like doubling your money whenever you go to put it into the plan. So since you have to do everything on your own, we see that it's a lot harder to maintain that and stay on track. And even if you've been doing contributions to retirement for a while, it may not be enough just because of how much you need to save on your own without having some type of matching program as well. Lastly, irregular income creates a scarcity mindset for a lot of court reporters. I often see court reporters have way too much money sitting in cash because they're worried about what's going to go on if they can't work for a period of time or if they have slow months, and they want to have an emergency fund, which is an important piece of a financial plan, but we don't want to have too big of an emergency fund where you're missing out on opportunities to grow and invest for the future. So sometimes I see this irregular income causes a loss of savings versus, again, a traditional salaried job where you're getting a guaranteed paycheck every 2 weeks. So when we think about trying to get on track and think about starting late in your retirement plan, I want you to think about the mental shift of not thinking I'm too far behind and I'm going to work for the rest of my life. There's nothing I can do about it. Instead, thinking, hey, how do I maximize my remaining years that I have left working to give myself the best retirement plan I possibly can? So the reality that's associated here with these compressed timelines is, what changes when you're starting late? First and foremost is a higher savings rate is going to be required. That's pretty obvious, right? You have less time available. You're going to need to save more money to hit the same goal. The kicker with this, though, is actually the compounding growth. And so it's not necessarily the time that's the issue, and you have to save more because there's less time. It's the years that you didn't get investment growth, right? The best use of your money is going to be the last few years before you retire, because that big portfolio you've built up, 10% of $100,000, you're only getting $10,000. 10% of $1 million, you're getting $100,000 of growth in your account. So it's those last few years of growth that's really the most beneficial. So the longer you wait, you're not necessarily taking off the early years that you could have been saving. You're taking off the ending years that you no longer have anymore, where that money's really working the hardest. So that is going to be a big impact in your financial plan. We're going to have to be more aggressive in order to stay on track, right? So there's only so many ways that you can catch up on retirement. You either save more money, you decide you're going to live off of less in retirement, you push out your retirement goal and retire later, or the last option is you increase the risk in your investments to help you try and catch back up. So those are the only options you have to choose from in order to get your retirement plan on track. And usually it's a balance or combination of all of them to make that happen. So every year matters significantly more for you, but you do have some advantages. The first advantage that you have is that these are probably the peak earning years. Court reporting income has continued to go up from what I've seen. So most reporters are earning the most that they've ever earned. You also have most of your major expenses complete. Hopefully, at this point, kids are out of the house. You have a lot less expenses associated with them. Maybe your mortgage is gone or you've refinanced in the last few years to get a really low rate. So your payment's gone down quite a bit. You're not buying new cars as much anymore. So hopefully we have some expenses knocked down that you have a little bit more wiggle room in your cash flow. And you have greater financial clarity. So you probably have a good idea at this point in your life of how much you bring in, what goes out, to know what's going on with your expenses. And then lastly, you're going to know what you're going to need for your retirement plan. So you'll have a good idea of what that retirement vision looks like. How much money do I need to live in retirement? What's that number that I need to work towards? Some of the other advantages that you have when it comes to your investing strategies, number one is looking at your retirement accounts. So when you think about going into retirement, one of the options that you have is going to be how you retire, right? Do you just quit and stop working all at once, or do you slowly ease back? What I see from reporters is most of the time they're going to slowly ease back. You're not just going to say, okay, I'm done. You're more just going to scale back as you want to or as you can, depending on where you're at in your retirement plan. There is also part-time viability where you're able to keep working as a part-time schedule and bring income for quite a while into your retirement. And part of that benefit is the physical nature of your job is that it's not as physically demanding as other more manual labor type of jobs. So you do have the ability to go a lot later in your career, and you can use that to your advantage to help you catch up for retirement and provide supplemental retirement income as well. So one thing to know is that the biggest benefit that you can have toward your retirement plan is going to be working later into your career until you decide to completely stop working. The reason this is so effective is because not only do you have one more year of saving money, you have one more year of investment growth, and if we knew exactly when you were going to pass away, we know that you have one more year less of retirement that we need to plan for. So it's a triple compounding effect for every year longer that you work into your career before entering retirement because of those three factors. So that's going to be the biggest benefit. Just some kind of rough rule of thumb math, 3 extra years of working can get you an additional 6 to 9 additional retirement years because of those factors that I mentioned. If we think about when you take when you take Social Security in retirement, working longer also means that you can delay Social Security to get that maximum benefit as well, right? So if we are able to wait and delay Social Security all the way up till age 70, you're going to get the most benefit that you could possibly earn. And then you're also going to have that benefit, grow with inflation from that point forward. So it's getting you the maximum income for retirement. Also, depending on where you got started in your career, you use the 40 last working years to determine your Social Security benefit. And if these years that you're currently working are some of the best income years that you've had, then your average for those 40 years will actually be going up because of your higher income that you're earning right now. And that also will increase your Social Security benefit as well. So there's lots of benefits to continuing to work and getting higher Social Security, letting your investments grow, and being able to save more as well. So again, talking about Social Security, I did the webinar recently on how to maximize Social Security benefits. So we want to think about things like delaying, think about checking your records, make sure that you have the right amount of earnings listed in your Social Security portal. So you want to check that and stay up to date on that. And then lastly is those spousal options that I mentioned, right? Sometimes you want to take your benefits right away and your spouse wants to wait until age 70 or vice versa to maximize the amount of income that you're going to earn from Social Security. So if you haven't watched that webinar, take a look at that one, and that'll help make sure that you're maximizing Social Security for your individual situation. So part of this delay in retirement and getting started late in your retirement planning, it does mean that we might have to throw the traditional retire at age 65 off fixed income out the window and have more of a flexible retirement plan and make sure that we're working to something that's going to work for you. So the model may be something like I've mentioned, slowing down gradually, working seasonally, choosing maybe only your favorite clients or agencies to work with, going into mentoring and teaching to continue to bring income in later in life. So just different strategies that we can take advantage of to keep earning income. Another option that you can go is looking at your house. A lot of people don't think about their house as an asset that they can use for retirement because they live there. But for some people, it may make sense to actually downsize. And when you downsize, you can take out a considerable amount of equity from your house to be able to pay for your retirement. So some things to think about there is, when are you going to do that? Do you want to do that right now so that you can take that equity out of the house and get it into retirement accounts that are going to grow better and be useful for your retirement plan? Or do you want to look at doing it when you retirement, where you take out a lump sum of money to use for your retirement plan and you downsize? Or do you want to use it as a backup plan where you look at something like a reverse mortgage where you get paid out a monthly amount as they basically sell down your equity in your house to pay a fixed salary that you can live off of later in your retirement years? So different options to choose from there. Also looking at moving, again, this is not ideal situation, but if we want to be able to retire and you know that you're not going to be able to work forever, looking at lower cost of living areas to make your money go farther could be helpful both now while you're working, but also while you're in retirement as well. Help you save money, and then you won't need as money as well when you're in retirement. Lastly, is looking at just like passion projects or other things you could do outside of court reporting to earn, again, part-time salary for as late into your retirement as possible to give you just supplemental income on top of Social Security. So your age-based action plan, some things to think about when it comes to planning for your retirement. If you're between the ages of 45 and 50, we want to start building momentum, maxing out retirement accounts if you can. I've done other webinars on different retirement account options to choose from, so check that out. Make sure we're not paying for any debts outside of your mortgage if possible. Looking at how we can boost income, make sure we're working a lot, see how long we need to work. And then as you get farther in your career, we're going to need to accelerate more. So once you're over 50, we get catch-up contributions for retirement accounts so you can get even more money into those retirement plans. Looking at whether we need to downsize, building income streams. As we get to 55, 60, we're really looking for anything that we can to maximize your plan. And then once we're 60 plus, then it's looking at what's the finish line, right? Are we got 10 more years, 5 more years? What's the sweet spot number that you need to hit in your retirement accounts to be able to start scaling back and not work as hard as you are right now? So just starting to plan and put more pen to paper on real numbers of what you need retirement to look like. Remember, if you want to just a general rule of thumb, 5% of your investment portfolio is what you'll be able to draw each year in retirement. So $1 million is only going to get you $50,000 a year in retirement. So make sure you keep that in mind as far as how you're going to make your money work for you and be able to live off of it in retirement. So maybe you get to $1 million, then you have 50 grand a year coming from your investments, plus you have Social Security, another 40, 50 grand a year, and that's what you live off of for your retirement plan. So lastly, starting today, some things to think about: calculating what your true needs are for retirement. So again, what do you need to live off of? Not the extravagant lifestyle, but what is the lifestyle that's the bare minimum that you're willing to accept? And how are you tracking toward that as a starting point? And then maybe we can build savings and continue working longer if you're feeling good to hit maybe a more dreamy retirement that you want, but at least have an initial retirement that you're working off of. Look at opening up the retirement accounts if you haven't done so to maximize your financial plan. Solo 401k being the best of those options if you really want to put as much money as you can toward retirement. Look at creating a catch-up budget for your retirement plan. So what are some expenses that I can cut out to increase the savings? Look at how many more working years you can realistically do at full scale and know how much you need to get into retirement accounts each of these years to really maximize your plan. And then lastly, get professional help if needed. So if you want to see what retirement looks like right now, how are you currently tracking? Either send me a message or comment on any of my videos, and we can always set up a time to talk about your individual retirement plan, see how you're tracking just based off of what you're doing today, and then go from there. We offer that as a complimentary service to everyone that we meet with, so you can at least see how you're doing so far. So feel free to reach out if you want to get that set up. Lastly, just remember that having a late start requires urgency, but not panic, right? There's a lot of opportunities to take advantage, especially as a individual business owner, to really maximize these last years that you have working at full capacity. So make sure that you get started now. And it's a great time. We're in December, so figure out a game plan for 2026 to get organized. Let me know if you have any questions on this in the comments. Otherwise, I'll see you all next week, and we'll have 2 more presentations this year, and then we'll get started with the new year. Have a great rest of your week, and I'll talk to you soon.